What's up guys, Boss here, and in today's video we're going to be doing another tier list. So as you guys know, or if you didn't know, I do tier lists every couple months. Whenever there's a balance change, I'll do one usually a week or two after when the meta is settled. And now that we had balances about a week or two ago, I think the meta has kind of established enough to where I can rank the cards again. I've been playing this game for a very long time, at this point 6 years or something crazy like that, so I have a very good understanding of, the meta and how strong each of the cards are. So yeah, hope you guys do enjoy the video. As always, S tier means the card is, broken. Either means it's very prevalent in the meta. Maybe it needs a nerf or rework. A means it's going to be above average. B means it's just about average. C slightly below average, but still pretty viable. And then D means you're not really going to see it at all, maybe just in one deck, and it could possibly use a buff. All right, so with that being said, I would say Giant is just about average. It recently got a health nerf that was about maybe, I don't know, 6 months ago, something like that, but still kind of, just average, nothing crazy. Musk is A tier. I personally think she's a very solid support card and air counter. Mini P.E.K.K.A. I think is B tier, just about average in my opinion. Fireball, even after the nerf, I would say it's S tier, but with that being said, definitely slightly worse, the pushback, against things like Balloon and, maybe Royal Hog, stuff like that, but still a very solid and just versatile card. Archers, I think, are C tier, pretty much only used in Expo. They did get a small buff a little while ago. I forget what that was. Maybe it was their hit speed or damage, but still not that great. I mean, just used in Expo. Knight is going to be, I think, C tier. I don't think Knight is that good of a card. You don't see it much anymore. Even in Splash Yard, people prefer to run Valkyrie or, Mighty Miner now, Skeleton King. There's just so many better options than the Knight. It's pretty much kind of like the Archers, for the most part, only used in Expo. I mean, even Mortar, you'd rather have a Valkyrie now. Minions are, I think they're also going, you know what, I think minions are B, maybe. They're either B or C, right? They're used in Giant Graveyard, they're used in Lava, and they get a lot of value in those decks, but I think, like, overall, they're not too versatile, so I might change my mind, put them in C. I think they actually are C. Yeah, I just changed my mind. Arrows are going to be A. They fit in a lot of decks. They're especially seen a lot in Lava. You could use it in Mortar, though. Sometimes I see it with Mortar Bait. You could use it with Giant Graveyard. You could use it in, a couple, of other different kinds of decks. I just think they can fit in a lot of different things. They're a very safe card to use, if that makes sense. I would say that Spear Goblins are a bit weak right now. I don't think they're a bad card, but they just strength-wise, but I think there's just a lot of options, so they're easy for them to be replaced, but what they're used in, they're a decent card. They get value for just 2 elixir, so I would say they're B. I would definitely say they're a bit better than minions. Goblins, on the other hand, I would say are D. Goblins are just not that good. I don't think there's much of a point of using them over skeletons. I definitely think they could use a buff. I don't know how they would get buffed without them being broken. That's, I think, going to be kind of hard to do. Goblin Cage is B. Better buildings than it right now for sure. I might even move it down to C, because for the most part, I only see it in Recruits Hogs. I don't really see it in another deck, because even, a lot of heavier decks now are using Cannon. Like Electro Giant's using Cannon now. It's kind of crazy. And then, Golem, you see it with Tombstone now. So it's not as good as it used to be. Skarmy is going to be, I'd say B tier. I'd say it's right about average right now. It pairs very well with the Skeleton King, but of course it's very easy to counter, right? With just Log, Zap, lots of ways you can counter it. Baby Dragon, this is another tough one. I think it's average, though. It used to be above average. It definitely used to be an A, borderline S tier card, but I think now it's kind of, maybe after Champions, it's not as good as it used to be, but still good, especially in control decks, beatdown decks, stuff like that. Valkyrie is A tier. I think you could even maybe argue she's S tier. I don't think she is anymore, but Valkyrie is very strong. Way better than the Knight, and that's why I put Knight in C tier, because pretty much every deck, you're just better off running Valkyrie. You don't really want to use Knight in most of decks. Skeletons are going to be S tier, just for the, kind of like the versatility, and, I just think, like, even though they might not necessarily need a nerf, they've just been, for the last few years, just so strong. I think the Tombstone is A tier. I think it's better than the Goblin Cage for sure. I might even consider putting Goblin Cage in C. I just don't think the Cage is really that good. I mean, I might move it down to C. We'll see. I think the Bomber, especially because of how popular Drill is right now, I'm considering putting an A. It's just a very safe card, right? For 2 Elixir, even though it might not be insanely versatile, like you don't see it in Beatdown, I just think I'm also considering value the card gets, and it just gets, for 2 Elixir, an absurd amount of value. The Goblin Barrel, I would say right now it's B, even though there's a ton of bait with the Mighty Miner, that bait deck. I don't think the Goblin Barrel itself is an OP card. I just think the cards it's used in right now, the Cannon, the Mighty Miner, the Mirror, which we'll get to, they're all just super, super strong. Barbarrel's A. I was way too harsh on this card after the nerf. It's still a great card. And you know what, B? I just realized I can't put it in A, but it's certainly not C. I think I put it in C last time, and that was too harsh. I think I saw a couple comments on that, because it was right after the nerf, the range nerf, but it's still good, right? I mean, it's still a good card for only 2 Elixir. It's like, you know, the best alternative to Log, which we'll get to. Battle Ram is C tier. I don't think Battle Ram is anything too crazy. It's used in E-Barb's Bridge Spam, P.E.K.K.A. Bridge Spam. I don't think it's D because it doesn't need a buff, but I just think, you know, with all the buildings right now, it's hard to get it to the tower. Mega Minion is B. Maybe it's A, but when you think about it, right, Mega Minion isn't used in a lot of decks right now, besides just Lava Hound, because you don't see Giant Double Prince that much anymore, so it's not as OP as it once was. It used to be broken, without a doubt. It used to be broken. Barbarians got buffed just a little while ago. I think they're C, though. I still don't think they're that good. I mean, they're just used in lava. That's about it. It's the only deck they're ran in. They're not versatile, so I can't put them too high. Cannon's S right now. I don't know if it needs a nerf necessary. It might be because of the Champions 3-card cycle. It's just such a cheap card. It is insanely, insanely strong right now, though. It is by far the best building in the game. Definitely better than Tombstone. For sure better than Cage. I mean, and then we'll get to some of the other buildings. But I think Cannon, best building in the game right now. Miner's A tier. So, so good. Such a good, you know, secondary win condition inside of Lava, inside of Mortar, inside of, you could even use it, well, there's so many different kinds of Mortar decks. You could use it like in a Miner Control Rocket deck. You could, you know, Miner Wall Breakers, not as common anymore, but you'll still see it sometimes, so just a great card in general. And then the P.E.K.K.A. P.E.K.K.A.'s C. I don't really think P.E.K.K.A.'s that great. I do think it's below average. I mean, right, there's P.E.K.K.A. Ram Rider, but Mega Knight Ram Rider is more common, and on top of that, like, I just don't think P.E.K.K.A. Battle Ram is used a ton. You know, the best of the best have some success with it on ladder, but it's just not, compared to other things, used as much. Giant Skeleton's S. This is one of the best cards in the game. I feel like this card is underrated in mid-ladder. I think people don't realize how broken this card is, but all the pros are talking about it, all the top ladder players. In my opinion, it's a top 5 card in the game right now. It is so, so good. It might even be better than some of the champions, which might be hard to believe, but I'm telling you guys, it is great. Wizard is C. It's somewhat viable. I don't know if I want to put it D, but he's definitely kind of weak. I think he's the worst of the cards I have in C, but he's still, like, he is kind of annoying. I don't know. Like, against certain things like Lava, he does very good against. Inferno is B. Right now, it's been kind of finding a spot in the meta. Like, I would say it's right along with Cage in terms of, you know, how much you see it. In fact, you might even see it more than Cage. It's a very good card when you're against Lava, Golem, you know, even E-Giant. Let's see here. So, next up we got Fire Spirit. It did just get nerfed, but I still feel like it might be S. This is what I'm kind of torn on. Let me know in the comments, do you guys still think Fire Spirit's S or A? Do you guys still think it's S? Last time I put it S, it doesn't kill Lava Pups anymore, though. So, I don't know. I mean, a couple interactions are different, but it's still such a safe, cheap card. I feel like I have to put it S. I mean, I see it everywhere. This combination, Fire Spirit, Cannon, Skeletons, Fireball, I see everywhere. Like these 4 cards, I'm gonna put them right together to emphasize this. You could literally make a deck. There's quite a few decks, at least a couple, 2 or 3 in the meta that have these cards in it. One actually has Giant Skeleton, a drill deck. Skeleton Dragons are C. They're not that great. You could even argue they could get a small buff. Princess is C as well, just used in bait, right? Witch is C as well. I wonder if I should have tried to find one with 6 categories instead of 5, because I think normally it has 6. Anyway, it doesn't really matter. Wall breakers are just average. I mean, they're not used a ton in the meta, but again, it goes back to them being a cheap card. They're so safe, right? So it's like having them in your deck isn't going to hurt you, typically. Hog Rider, I think, is, I think it's A. I mean, like, with the giant skeleton, pairs so well with the hog. Obviously, it's like, you could say it's a higher skill card. Like, you don't see it all over the top of ladder, but it's like, if you know how to use it well, man, it's a powerful card. Bats are definitely A. I think Zap is, I think it's B. I think it's just, you know what? Even though, here's the thing. Even though Zap and Snowball, I'm going to put Snowball here too because they're like similar cards used in similar things. I think Zap or Snowball, one of them should get a buff. So there's more variety in small spells besides everyone just running Log. That was my idea. And while we're on the topic of it, I guess we'll throw Log and S. That's obvious. I think everyone knows Log is still S tier even after the nerf it got to the towers. Mortar is... I think Mortar's S tier in my opinion. I think it's with the cannon almost as strong as cannon right now. It's a very good building with the Skeleton King, Archer Queen. Rocket is pretty solid right now. I almost want to say it's like A, but I don't know. Maybe it's B. I think it's B. A month ago I would have said it's A, but I'm going to put it at B for now. I don't know. I think that's pretty fair because it's used in bait mostly. But yeah, I don't know. It's Flying Machine C. I know it's an annoying card, but it's not. You know what? It's B. I changed my mind on that. I just realized in this current meta, it's quite solid. It's quite solid. I have to say, it's probably B in this meta because there's more Rocket and Lightning in this meta. Expo C. It's not that great. Not that great right now as a win condition. Even the best of the best Expo players are still struggling, but if you're very good with it, you can make it work. Balloon is B. I think of it as an average win condition right now ever since it got that rework, right? I mean, you don't see Loon cycle that much anymore. It's mostly just used in Lava Loon. Mega Knight is B, I think, after the buff, or would I even put it C? It's either a very low B or a high C, and I actually think I'm putting it C. Even after the buff, I'm not seeing it too often. Same with Prince. I mean, both of these got buffs, but not much changed. I don't know about you guys. I'm not seeing them much more. I know I'm mid-ladder. Everyone's going to be on me about putting Mega Knight in C, but I don't think it's all that even after the buff. I mean, it's like okay, but it's not used a ton. Dark Prince is A. I just think especially because of all the drill, great counter to that. And Three Musketeers are C. I don't think they're that good. I mean, they're used a little bit, but they're only in, like, very specific decks, right? They're all the same, like 3M, Pump, and, you know, all those cards you expect in it, and I don't see them that often. I don't think they have a very high use rate. Royal Hogs are A. There's this really broken deck right now with the Royal Hogs, Giant Skeleton, Mirror, Zappies, which I'm sure you guys have seen by now. It actually was the most popular deck in the 20 win challenge. It got the most 20 wins. RG right now, I think, is A. I think RG's, I don't know, is it A, is it B? I'm not really sure. I'm kind of torn on this one. I think, like, you could argue either way, but it's a solid win condition. I guess I'd put it A. I mean, it's had better metas, like, you were even some points where people were saying it's S, but I think right now, it's A. Recruits are C, I'd say. After the E-Giant nerf, I think it's A. That's a good way to put it. Recruits C. I think they're below average. I don't see them too often, and there's tons of people running cycle decks that do really good against them. You know, lots of Fireball, lots of Log, good against the Recruit Shields. Ice Wizard C. below average for sure. Freeze is it's like also C. See, this is why I think I should have found one that had an F, because Freeze is one I would put in the second to last. Like I would, if there was an F, I would put Freeze in D, is what I'm saying. Cause like I think it's like worse, but it's all good. Ooh, Lightning is. I feel like it's B. I feel like it's average. I don't know if I could put it in A, because I don't really think it's too much better than the Rocket right now. Because Lightning, when you think about it, right, it's just used in RG and Golem mostly. Because Electro Giant could use EQ, and less people are using Electro Giant right now anyway, after it got nerfed. I'm glad it's not as broken, because it was super broken. The Ice Golem is C. Even after the buff, it's not really that great. I mean, maybe it's B after it. I still don't think it's that good, but Ice Spirit is A. It got buffed too a little while ago. I think it's very solid. I think, like, you know, with the Electro Spirit, they're both an A. I mean, it kind of comes down to preference. Some decks, one is better than the other. Obviously, in Expo, you don't care about a King activation because you use E-Spirit, but in Bait, Ice Spirit, probably better. So, just comes down to preference. Inferno Drag is A. I think Inferno Drag is just a very good card. I think it's better than Baby Drag. It's way more threatening. You know, like an Inferno Drag can be a card that wins you the game if they don't have a reset to it. Right? So I think of it as a very, like, just powerful card in certain matchups. I know in some it doesn't get a lot of value, but it's just a card in general that I just think is very, very annoying to play against, depending on what you're running. So the Goblin Giant is just a C. I mean, you only see it in Sparky. You don't see that Bait one anymore with a Goblin Gang and Double Prince. No one runs that. Poison is B. It's with the Lightning. I might have to move one of these in A because it's kind of weird putting them all in B, but I just think they're all average, you know? None of them really, to me, stick out. Like, Poison's just used in Graveyard. Like, what else is it? You could even argue Poison C. I don't know if it feels right putting it with the Freeze, but, like, what is it used in besides Graveyard? I mean, there isn't anything, and Freeze is just used in Lumberloon Freeze and Graveyard Freeze occasionally, so I don't know. Poison's slightly better, but they're, you know, I don't know. I mean, maybe I should put, I don't know. Dark Goblin's A. I think it's a very annoying card if you don't have a good answer to it. I know it's not versatile, like used in too many decks besides Mortar and Bait, but I mean, it's the MVP in so many situations. Goblin Hut's D. This will be our second D tier card. It just sucks. Same with Goblin Gang. Like, the goblins in general are just all bad. This is why I would be okay with, well, this is Spear Goblin, I just realized that, but it's really bad. There's no deck you want to use. Like, if there's a deck, right, or a card where you could say there's no deck you want to use it in, that's how you know it kind of just, it's at the lowest tier, right? It just doesn't make sense to use it. Lava Hound is very good right now because of the Fire Spirit not killing the pups, and there's so many people using the Fire Spirit still, which means Lava does a lot better against Fire Spirit decks. You have a way easier time beating them, so I would say Lava's in a very good spot right now. Better than the Balloon, because you can use Lava decks without the Balloon. You can use Lava Miner. I think it's a solid win condition. I mean, we see that Fireball Bait one, Flying Machine, Skelly Drags, right? Ram Rider after the buff, it's definitely not D anymore. No way. I don't even know if it was D. I always thought it was C. I almost feel like it's a B now. It's like honestly solid. I don't know about you guys, but I'm seeing it more again. Interactions changed. It's easier to get it to connect. I mean, it's better now. I would almost say it's average. I mean, I would say it's about where the Giant is now in terms of like how often I see it. So I'm gonna put a B. I think it's in a decent spot now. It was a good buff it got. Golem C. I don't think Golem's that good right now. Golem Clone especially is pretty much dead. I think most people are happy about that though, but Golem, just because of Electro Giant, you know, even though Electro Giant got nerfed, I think Electro Giant is still slightly better than Golem, and just Golem's hard to run in the meta with all the champions, because champions don't really pair that well with the Golem. Hunter is B. I can't say it's much more than that. I don't know if I could put it A, because, I mean, what is it used in besides 3M even doesn't have to use it, and RG doesn't either. There's really no deck that has to use him. But it's still a very solid card average, right? I can't put it C, because it's a good card. Furnace is D. Again, it's like, you know, there's no deck you would want to use it in. You're pretty much better off running any other card. And after the Fire Spirit nerf, it's even worse. I just want to throw that out there too. It's even worse after the Fire Spirit nerf. Minions are C. I think they're, or Minion Horde. We already did minions. I think minions and Minion Horde are both C. They're below average, but they definitely, either one does not need a buff. I mean, they get value. You could use it Minion Horde and Sparky Bait, and, you know, Mortar Bait. E-Barbs are, man, I don't know. E-Barbs I never know where to put. I feel like they're A, though. I don't know. I mean, they're very good. Or maybe they're B. I mean, they're not too versatile. I realize even though what they're used in, they're very annoying, like 3M and Battle Ram Bridge Spam, they're not used in a lot of things. And even Sparky doesn't have to use them, because there's so many different kinds of Sparky decks. Sparky's in a solid spot right now. I think it's average. Before, I always put it below, but it is average right now. It's in a decent spot. You can use it with, you know, Sparky Rage. You could use Sparky Bait with the Skarmy, you know, Minion Horde, which I was just talking about. And there's a few decks you can use it in. It's decent. I mean, it's not great. A lot of counters to it, especially with Log Bait, but it's good. Ewiz is above average for sure. I think it's just a good... Wait, is it? I don't think so, because I just realized Musk is better than Ewiz. I don't think I could put Ewiz in A. I think at this point, it's not as prevalent as it used to be, because it's mostly just ran in P.E.K.K.A. and, you know, Giant Double Prince, and Drill, you know, Giant Skeleton, that heavier Drill variation runs it. I think it's average. I don't actually think it's A. I changed my mind on that. E-Drag, I think, is D. Maybe a little bit of a controversial one, but I think it's D. It's just not that good. There's no deck that requires it. Lumberloon, Freeze, you could even use that with Baby Drag instead of E-Drag. That's what a lot of people do. A lot of lightning in the meta. I think a buff is pretty justified, in my opinion. Like a first attack buff or something. The Electro Giant's just right in average now. The nerf was very good they did. I think it's still a viable card, but it's not broken anymore, because I know that was a frustrating meta for a lot of people. Zappies are A. They're such a good card right now. With the Giant Skeleton, they pair so well. They pair well with the RG. You know, you can... recruits Hogs, and they're good against E-Giant, which a lot of people are still using. Such a good defensive card. Good against Ram Rider, too. Tesla's C. I don't think Tesla's that good. I would... I don't know. I feel like if I put Tesla C, I gotta put the Goblin Cage in C, though, because how is the Tesla worse than the Goblin Cage? Because I feel like I see Expo more... Yeah, I don't know. I think we might just have to move them both in C, to be honest. I think the Inferno's better than both of these cards right now. I don't know, though. Like, this is a tough one. I feel like Inferno's better than the Tesla right now, though. And, yeah, I really don't think Cage is that great. Both of these are in C. Ghost is A. Such a good card. Such a good card. It's, like, an incredible support card for only 3 Elixir. Versatile, pairs in so many things. I mean, you can use it in a couple different cycle decks. You know, like, there's some drill decks it's used in. You could use it in RG. You could use it in Bridge Spam. You know, P.E.K.K.A. Other kinds of Bridge Spam decks with Battle Ram, E-Barbs, stuff like that. Graveyard is A. I don't know why, but I've been seeing a lot of Graveyard this meta. I realize a lot of people are starting to use Graveyard with Mighty Miner, too, instead of the Skeleton King after the nerf, and I'm also seeing some, like, Giant Skeleton Graveyard decks. It's a pretty solid Link Edition right now, which is surprising because Mother Witch is used quite a lot. Guards are A. They're above average, without a doubt. They're not quite deserving of S, though, but they are a very, very good card. And Mirror's S. This card has changed the meta so much. I think it's part of the reason why some of the decks we see now that are just crazy work. It's just, and with the champion, it's even more broken because you can play a champion and then you can still mirror what you played before, and it's ridiculous, which I'm sure pretty much like everyone knows by now. Bomb Tower C as well. I think just this is fair. These three buildings, just compared to the ones I have up here, are just weaker, I think. Like Tombstone, Cannon, Mortar are just all way better than these three right here. Skeleton Barrel's D. I think Skeleton Barrel's a pretty bad card in my opinion. I know you can make it work, but there's no meta deck. Like, there's no meta deck that uses it. Yes, there's some off meta decks, sure. Like, you could use some, Mega Knight bait deck that's from like 3 years ago, but no one really plays that anymore. And, Mortar, Skeleton Barrel, I mean, yeah, you could use it, right, with the Skeleton King, but again, there's better options. Like, and if there's a better option, that's where the card gets put in D. Like, if there's no meta deck that it uses, I think then it's kind of deserving of a buff, or you could argue it could use one. That's my opinion anyway. So, Earthquake, I think is that A or B? This one I am not sure about. I think it's B, though. I think it's right about average after they nerfed it, and it doesn't do as much damage to towers. I mean, you just see it in Hog and Royal Hogs cycle. I mean, that's about it. So, Hog, EQ, Giant Skelly, and Pigs cycle. So, Rascals are C. They can't seem to get this card in a good spot. They always buff it. They always give it a small buff, but it always remains to be a pretty bad card. Maybe they have to rework it into a 4 elixir card. Heal Spirit is... I think it's the worst of all the spirits, but it's still average. Like, there's no way it needs a buff. When it's used in Sparky or Bridge Spam, let me tell you, it gets value, that's for sure. Pump is not actually that good of a card. I know this might surprise you guys, and a lot of people, pros especially, are crying about the Pump, saying it needs a nerf. No, it doesn't. What is it used in besides 3M? The Pump isn't the problem, it's the mirror. The only reason why 3M Pump Mirror seems to be broken when you play against it is because of the mirror. It's not because of the Elixir Collector. No way. It is not because of the Elixir Collector. There's no way, because otherwise, if it was the Elixir Collector, why do you not see the Elixir Collector in any other deck? Like, you don't see it in Lava, you don't see it in Golem. So it's not that good. It's just average. Drill is S. It's broken. I think it's the best win condition in the game right now. And look at the S tier cards right now. You can make a deck out of this. There's a meta deck that has like pretty much all these cards in it. Fireball, Skeletons, Cannon, Fire Spirit, that's 4, right? Giant Skeleton, 5. This is 6, 7. Boom. Only card you're missing is the... Oh, look at this. And Queen is S. By the way, Queen might be the best card in the game right now after the Golden Knight and Skelly King nerf. I know we're skipping ahead, but look at this. You can literally make a whole deck out of this. Look, I just want to emphasize this for a second. This is a deck, right? Giant Skeleton, Drill, Queen. I'm gonna put all these cards together to prove to you how crazy this meta is, and how many, and there's some cards that are just extremely broken compared to the others. Look at this right here. This is 8 cards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All of these cards are S tier. You can literally make a whole deck out of these 8 cards, and it's one of the most broken decks in the game. Do you see this? Do you see what I'm talking about? This is ridiculous. I don't know if we've ever had this before. Sometimes people make a joke and say, oh, I'm going to put all the S tier cards in the deck. You literally can. You literally can. Exclude the Mortar and the Mirror in this case. They're both broken and other things. But this is all you need. Just use this deck. Like right here, the first 8 cards you see. Boom. There you go. You're welcome. It's, I mean, I don't know. It's just crazy. Bowler's like average. Magic Archer's A. It's secondary win condition. I think like what it's used in and the value it gets makes it A, even though you don't see it everywhere. It's a game-changing card, right? Bandit, I think, is B. Before I had it A, I think, maybe before. I think it's B right now. Firecracker's... I think Firecracker's D. There's no point in using her. I don't know why so many casuals think the Firecracker's good. Because just you're much better off using a musketeer, a queen if you're running hog. Like hog firecracker, why do people still use hog firecracker? It's not good. I'm telling you guys, but I keep, especially early on in global tournaments, I don't know why I play against like 3 firecrackers in a row at like 1 or 2 wins. It's, I don't know why, but I don't think it's smart to run her over Musk or Queen. Like Queen is just broken, and Musk, why would you not use them over the firecracker? Barb Hut is F or D, but if there was an F tier, it would be F. It's horrible. D, Rage, C. It doesn't need a buff, and you can use it in Sparky too, and Elixir Golem. Executioner C, even after the buff, it's not that great. It's still below average. Night Witch is C as well. Lumberjack is... I don't know. Is Executioner B now? I don't think it is. I just see it used in Drill. A Drill control deck and Hog. Yeah, it's still C. It's not that good. Bowler's better for sure. Lumberjack, I mean, what is it used in? I mean, no one uses it in Golem anymore. It's just used in Lumberloon Freeze. I just don't think it's that great. Delivery, I guess maybe it's B. I feel like it's C, though. I don't know. I mean, what it's used in, it does well. Healer's D. I mean, right, with the Elixir Golem. Clone, I guess, is C. It's a bit better than the cards in D. NATO's A. Yes, after the Golden Knight nerf, I'm going to say it's A. When Golden Knight was insanely broken, it's still broken, but it's not insanely broken. It moves down to A. I made a tier list a little while ago with Surtag and Cashman, and I remember we put NATO in S, but I think I now moved it lower. Mother Witch is B, because even though she's used in a couple decks, I think she just mostly serves as a fireball bait aspect, and unless you're playing against a specific like bait deck or graveyard deck, she doesn't do an awful lot in certain matchups. Like if you're against a heavy deck, she doesn't do much, so it's a very dependent, like matchup dependent card. But then again, I mean, I don't know, you could argue I said that about the Inferno Drag, because it like some matchups it wins you games, others it might not. But yeah, I don't know, I mean, maybe it's A. It's solid right now for sure. It's used in that Giant Skelly Mirror deck. Fisherman's B. Skeleton King, is it even S anymore after the nerf? I don't know. I mean, we know Golden Knight and Mighty Miner are S without a doubt. I just don't know if Skelly King is still S. I feel like it's gotta be. I mean, you could even say just because of the 3-card cycle, and you still see it in Lava, you still see it in Graveyard, Mortar Bait. I mean, yeah, who am I kidding? It's still an S. I don't know how much I want to... So if you guys want a Champions ranking, let's just... in my opinion, these are, like, the best 2 cards in the game right now. Giant Skeleton and Queen are insanely broken. And then I would say the second best champion after the Queen is, here's my ranking right now. Queen first, Golden Knight second. Golden Knight was first, but got nerfed, drops below the Queen now slightly. I think Mighty Miner is third, and Skeleton King is fourth. Even though Skeleton King didn't get a massive nerf, I think Mighty Miner and him were kind of close, and now Mighty Miner pulls ahead. Mighty Miner's just so strong in that bait deck, and also you can use Mighty Miner in Graveyard. People are using him instead of the Skeleton King now, which I've seen a couple times. Anyway, that's going to be it for the tier list. Hopefully this didn't go on too long. I have no idea how long I've been recording, because I don't see the time, because I do full screen on this. But anyway, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Make sure to like it if you did enjoy the video. Subscribe if you guys are not subscribed already. Let me know in the comments what you guys would change. What do you guys agree with? What do you disagree with? Maybe I got like 1 or 2 things wrong, or a few things wrong, because obviously I don't think like too long on every single one. So yeah, let me know what you guys would change. And thanks again. Until next time, guys.